Hello, everyone. My name is Chance, and this is the Paint the Town Red podcast. We got a lot of exciting news and some saddening news, so per usual. Trump is calling for an end to the war in Gaza. The Washington Post reports that Trump's team says if Netanyahu does not wrap up the war quickly, he will pull out of supporting Israel entirely. This comes just after Trump sent supplies via airdrop to the Gaza Strip. And Israel replied to this saying only America is allowed to do such things. So I guess Israel owns the Gaza Strip. They're admitting it. China responds to both of these things by claiming that Israel is committing war crimes. And my guess is that they're just jealous because we're dropping supplies and they probably want to compete with us and drop more supplies or something. But this comes just after Trump visits Saudi Arabia and brings with him $600 billion of industry investments, as well as accepting a plane from the government of Qatar and removes all sanctions from the Syrian government without the UN's approval. Pretty interesting. Kind of flipping the table a little bit here. Some far right-wing groups have looked at these actions and kind of go, oh, no, that's just all fake. It's all smoke and mirrors. But, I mean, what's smoke and mirrors about accepting the plane from Qatar, making a deal with Saudi Arabian government, and also lifting the sanctions on Syria? I mean, we are building relationships with them. Hopefully that will help us prevent, what our goal is, to prevent a war in Iran, right? So, I mean, it's moving in a direction that we agree with. Maybe you could have some criticisms about it, which I know there are, but maybe I'm just a Trump fan and I just can't get over it. um, I seen this post the other day that was online. And it was like, if you can't say anything bad about Trump at all, then you know you're brainwashed. And I'm like, man, I could say something bad about Trump. I think we're not deporting enough people. That's what I think. I think we need to deport way more people, get them out of here, right? So we need to ramp up that aspect of Trump's campaign, definitely. So there you go. There's one thing. Excuse me. Trump has ignored opinions from the war-hungry Republicans and the sellout Democrats and has created a foreign game plan that will set us up for the future and put Beijing and London in the rearview mirror and put America and its people first. Senators like Markwayne Mullin and America First politicians are loving it, but there is a group of Republicans who are not happy with these actions. Can you guess who? And the actions I'm referring to is obviously the relationships with Syria and Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I'll just give you a hint of the group of people. They claim to be Americans, they claim to be for America, but only when we help out their home country. But if we, take any gifts from their neighbors, they get really upset. It's pretty telling. And I think I have a clip later on that will show that kind of displays a little bit of that, so it's kind of funny. Following a rise in anti-Semitism at universities, Representative Randy Fine, Republican from Florida, has introduced legislation aimed at stopping anti-Semitic harassment on college campuses. His legislation aims to amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to prohibit religious discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. According to the text, if passed, the bill would also amend the Higher Education Act of 1965 to provide means of rigorous enforcement against anti-Semitism on college campuses. So what do we got now? Another group of people complaining about how life's too hard for them and it's unfair because people call them names and we need to change the laws so that way they can't. And, yeah, that's what we have. Freedom of speech is an afterthought in America at this point. That's done. Ship has sailed. We have to, yeah, it's just terrible. This bill would simply say that a Jewish kid deserves the same protections as a black kid or a Hispanic kid or a woman or any other group of people. Fine who is Jewish, told the Daily Signal. And unfortunately, colleges won't do the right thing on their own, so we're going to make them do it. They don't limit free speech on their own, so now we've got to come in and do it. where's all the Republicans, the conservative Republicans that are going to stand up and say, hey, no, they stood up against the Civil Rights Act, right? Where are those Republicans that are going to stand up against this and say, this is not a good bill? They won't, though. All of these things happen is kind of like telling to like what's going on. Um, I'll show you a reel later on that talks about this, but I guess our economy used to be 40% driven by industries that had like, men workers building buildings and doing things that women can't do physically. And that encompassed 40% of our economy. Now it only encompasses 17% of our economy with, the internet and other things coming around. And so, that 20% of men that are not working because they didn't go to college or they're not working the trades jobs that they did, what are they doing? And, it's really sad. We need to adapt and move into industries that are going to benefit us. And so these are some of my thoughts on what's going on. While you scroll on your phone, though, you'll come across two predominant groups of people, and they're not separated by race or gender or wealth. Rather, they're separated by one question. Do you love America? One side claims that the problems we face today are from white nationalism, racism, homophobia, and misogyny. They cry that this is causing them to experience a tragic existence. Not only that, but additionally, white people are living life on easy mode compared to what they have to experience. These so-called oppressed have advocacy groups and massive corporate support to aid them in this harsh existence that they're experiencing. Yet they still claim that this is not near enough. They are now asking to not just have a say in national security and being able to vote and participate in all the things that everyone else was, but unless they rule the country outright, then they are going to remain in the oppressed group. They claim that they are the losers in the nation they inhabit because they don't rule over it. In all of history, we would define these types of people as invaders, but today we sleep next to them. We will point out racial disparities in the prisons, but we won't point out the racial disparities that are amongst our veterans, the people that signed the dotted line, that risked their lives in war. But this isn't just a racial group, it's also a class group. When the draft is in, they do not go to the blue states to harvest the college-educated wealthy youth. No, they go to the red rural states to get our nation's strongest men. That is why it is imperative that we do not retreat to the trades jobs alone and just leave politics for the upper class and the college-educated people. We need to make sure that we have good men coming in and participating in the political battle that we see ourselves in. So we can look out for each other. All the laws that are being passed as far as, like recently this one now, that's limiting our freedom of speech and doing all these things, and the corporate interests are all for everybody else, is largely because of the younger men who are working class people who are just evading those areas of society. And it's no wonder why all of the laws being written are not for us, they're for other people. So, and these people are they're sick. A lot of them are sick. They will sell us out. They will sell the rural classes out to the big corporations, the big global corporations. They will be quick to take us to war. If you talk to anybody who's in politics, they're quick to say, let's start a war, without even thinking about, hey, these are our young youth, our young men from the rural areas that are going to have to go out and, get killed, put their life on the line, right? So maybe we should be a little bit more sensitive when it comes to, talking about these things, but they're not. They don't care. They want you to stop saying racial slurs, and they want you to stop saying women can't drive. Those things are way more important on their to-do list rather than, not allowing you to go and die in war. They don't really care about that. So I think it's time, we take back our country that we built, really. So everybody says they built it. I think we know who really built the country. So, if you love this country, my opinion, my advice to you would be, let's work on working in politics to prevent wars rather than just waiting till wars take place and then we take action because our, country calls on our name to go fight in a war. why don't we, enlist ourselves in the political battle that's happening now in order to, you know, have a say, right? Do you think that's important? Oh, anyway, that's the rest of my rant, pretty much. I do have one plan that may fix everything. I do have one idea that I actually came up with last night when my wife, she put on a show. It's called Farmers Looking for Wives. I don't know if you've ever watched it, but if you want a good laugh, your wife will probably like it. My wife did. But I looked at that and I'm like, man, these guys are idiots. The girls on there are idiots. I mean, think about it. There's 6 girls that are competing for one guy. The guy even kisses all the girls in front of him. I mean, the show is just completely sick, and it's like the audacity of these people. It's just how stupid they are. It really shocks me. So during that time, I was thinking of a plan. I'm like, I bet we could fix our nation's problems if we introduced a bill that required you to pass a certain IQ. You had to have a certain IQ or you couldn't vote. I don't know why we don't do that. I think that would be valid. It's like you can't be stupid as hell and then be voting for like our men to go out into war and die, because you got convinced by some stupid person on YouTube or on Instagram, some real chain that you got yourself stuck into because you're completely manipulatable. We should have some type of IQ standard before you vote. I think in a few election cycles, if we did that, we'd like fix all of our nation's problems. I don't know, it's just, there would be a few people that would argue with doing it, right? Mostly the Democrats, and we know why. They like to say that, Trump supporters are like, we love the uneducated, but it's like, what about people with low IQ? Why don't we make it to where you have to pass a certain IQ test? Democrats would be, up in arms about that. And we know why. It's pretty simple, right? Okay, so let's move on to the reels. I got a few good ones that are they're sickening. I honestly don't like doing these, I like doing them, but I don't like watching them. They make me down. They get me sad about the day, and I'm just like in a bad mood after that pretty much because I don't like seeing this stuff. But I think it's important to show you guys, especially for the older crowd, like I said before, because they don't believe that this is real. They don't believe that these people are out there and that they're in the numbers that they are, but they are. And this is what. So this reel is pertaining to like something different. It's about men in today's society, but we'll check it out.
For the first time ever, young women are earning more than men their age. But this isn't about pay. It's about purpose, identity, and a generation of young men being left behind. A new report from the Center for Social Justice reveals a hidden crisis. Boys and young men are falling behind. In school, at work, and even at home, just 60% of boys are considered school-ready by reception age, compared to 75% of girls. By A-levels, girls are outscoring boys by more than a grade and a half. And in higher education, women now outnumber men by a ratio of 3 to 2. And while girls thrive, boys are more likely to be excluded and far more likely to drop out entirely. The collapse of male-dominated industries has left young men adrift. Industries like construction and manufacturing once offered secure, meaningful jobs for boys without degrees. Now they account for just 16% of the economy, down from over 40% in 1970.
Yeah, that's sad. Why is it happening? Why is it happening? Well, I think a lot of it is because the industry changed, of course, from 40% to 17%. But, we have different societies over different times. We've lost our moral background. There are given roles that are laid out for us that we need to, at least give credence to. Maybe not force the roles legally, but at least give credence to them, but we don't. As a society, we just throw out religion. We throw out our moral background of what created this great nation and what's caused us to be so successful. We just throw it out the window, and that's what's causing it. This is another video that pertains to that exact subject.
The most repressed Republicans are always the ones most obsessed with trans adult content. And now they're trying to make all adult content a federal crime. Senator Mike Lee just introduced a bill that would ban any image or video that appeals to the prurient interest, basically anything sexy. So all adult content. This includes ethical adult content made by and for consenting adults. But here's the kicker. The states that are pushing the bill are the same ones with the highest search results of trans adult content. It's no coincidence. The same lawmakers that are trying to ban gender affirming care are the same ones trying to call us predators and are the same ones who are secretly fetishizing our bodies. And I don't think it's fair to demonetize adult content by day while searching for it and fetishizing it at night. Here's the deeper harm. Many trans people are pushed into adult work because of the systemic barriers that we face: discrimination in jobs, housing, healthcare, you name it. These are the same politicians trying to criminalize people trying to survive. This bill probably won't pass, but it is part of the larger Project 2025, which is meant to control sex, gender, and bodily autonomy. And it's not just about adult content. These laws are designed to censor important healthcare resources and education, queer health and resources, trans visibility, all under the guise of morality. They're trying to say that they're protecting children, but what they're really doing is criminalizing desire and scapegoating trans people once again to hide their own shame. This isn't about morality, it's about repression, hypocrisy, and control. So next time someone tries to talk about protecting innocence, ask them why trans is the top of their adult content search results. We see what you're doing. We see the hypocrisy. We're not going anywhere.
Well, the first thing is like, how is she connecting hypocrisy with people that, like, if you ask a heroin addict who's on the street who does heroin, right? And like their life's a complete wreck. And you say, do you think heroin should be legalized? And they're going to go, no, I don't. It's horrible. It's wrecked my whole life. Does that mean they're hypocritical? No, it doesn't. It means they very well know the damaging effects of whatever they're doing and then why it should be illegal. So, on that front, I would say that's stupid. I mean, that's just that's crazy to say, but I'd also say, she mentions like trans and queer and all these people, like their ability to like be free and make money online. But it's like, what about the health of our young boys and like a giant portion of the nation? You don't mention one thing about that, about the damaging effects of watching porn and it being so accessible to everybody. I know with my son, I constantly got to monitor and pay attention and watch because he's still young, but you never know. We all know how damaging it is. The science is in, it's a fact. We know heroin's not illegal, or heroin's illegal, right? Things are illegal that are damaging to society. That is damaging to society. We have no moral background. They stand for everything that's immoral, disgusting, sinful nature. And they'll say, you're trying to control me. No, we're trying to protect from being just preyed upon by Satan, right? But anyway, so we'll move on to the next one. Let's see here. Oh, this one's pretty interesting. This one kind of has to do with
Did you support Trump? I did, like most successful businessmen would. But here's the big problem. Qatar, as you know, just offered a $400 million luxury jet, a palace in the sky, to Trump. And around the same point, the Trump Organization is building a $5.5 billion golf course in the same country. Now, the Syrian leader, as if that's not enough, says, I'm going to build a Trump Tower in Damascus. It's like the whole world sees our president as someone who's willing to sell our country for self-profit. We are so cooked.
I'm a business owner. Oh, come on, dude. You're not sly. You're just mad because Trump is building relationships with the Middle East, with all the neighbors of a certain country, and you belong to the group of people who come from that country. We all know it. It's not a surprise. It's not secret. Were you a business owner that supported Trump? Bro, say what you really are. Say why you're commenting on this, not because you're a business owner. Say why you care about this subject. Be honest. Like, that's just silly. And like, that's the group that I was talking about earlier on that just, for some reason, they've got a problem with everything going on. Why is that? Well, we know. We don't want war with Iran. We don't want war in the Middle East. We don't want that. We don't want to go die. If there's a way to prevent it, we should, try to pursue that. They don't want to pursue that. Nope. So here's the last video that I'll show you guys.
I think the biggest issue in our generation is white people feeling like they have entitlement over other minorities, feeling like they need to be at at least in America, feeling like they need to be at the top of the food chain and they're not. This country was built off of slavery. This country was built off of immigrants. This country is built on stolen land. Respect the people that you took this from and understand that we are telling you you are wrong.
How do you think white people can do better?
Sit down. Sit down. Stop trying. They don't feel like they need to take any type of accountability. And because of that, that's why our country is the way that it is.
This is what our colleges are producing. This is where you're sending your kids. With all the college professors, you know, they all believe this stuff. They all indoctrinate your kids, and you can't wait to send them off to college to go get indoctrinated like this. And this is what they believe. That's literally what they believe. They believe that America was not built by white people, and that it's actually owed to them, indigenous people, and it's not even black people. Right? It's not just indigenous. It's not just Asians. It's not just anybody. It's just anyone that's not white. That's all they care about. Anyone that's not white. And how can we fix it? We just have to retreat. We just have to lose and just give it up to them. That's how we do what she wants to do. So it's just like the recent thing going on with, like, you know, the immigrants coming over here from South Africa. They're mad about that. They're mad about immigrants coming over here from South Africa because why? They're white. They love other immigrants coming over here. They say, oh, we're a moral people and we want to look out for the little guy and all these things. No, they don't. They don't. They just want us to not be a white country. That's all they care about. And we all know it's true. It's like everyone's watching Fox News about, you know, some dumb old stupid instance about how eggs are $2 more now. And it's like, who cares? Who really cares? We have a crisis going on. We're aborting our children, and there's an invasion going on. How about those two topics, right? Who cares about our economy if we don't exist? Anyway, this is the Paint the Town Red podcast. Signing off.